From what I see online, Mexico is either $2 tacos, white sand beaches, and mariachi bands playing everywhere, or cartels, kidnappings, and some kind of non-stop danger zone where your life is constantly at risk. There's never no in between. In this video, I'm going to clear everything up. These are the 22 biggest myths Americans still believe about Mexico. And honestly, I used to believe many of these myself. Number 1, Mexico is dirt cheap everywhere. Tacos can be insanely affordable. But here's the real deal. If you want to live in those trendy foreigner places like Roma Norte, Palenque in Mexico City, or the beachfront zones in Tulum and Playa del Carmen, expect high prices. Rents start about $1,200 a month for a one bedroom, sometimes way more. Electronics, imported goods, almond milk, those can cost much more than Canada or even the US. And a new iPhone, expect 10 to 15% more. Yeah, thanks to import taxes. Same goes for gym memberships and fancy restaurants. But here's the thing, Mexico is a big country. Step outside of those high demand spots and you'll find towns and neighborhoods where life is way more affordable. You might not find a Whole Foods style grocery store around the corner from you, or a yoga studio. For you, if it's choosing the right comforts that you get at home, then you're gonna pay a lot more. If you want simpler living that's more quiet and less flashy, you'll pay a lot less. Both exist and both have their own rhythms. Number 2, it's dangerous everywhere. Danger exists, yeah, sure it does. But danger also exists in places like Chicago and LA. Just like almost every other country in the world, most of Mexico is filled with moms driving SUVs taking their kids to school, entrepreneurs opening cafes, teens hanging out in plazas after class, and retirees enjoying their morning walks. It's soccer practice on dusty fields, families going to church and the supermarket on Sundays, and couples out for late night tacos, people going to work, paying bills, making plans for the weekend. It's just like everywhere else. So get this out of your mind that everywhere is a war zone in Mexico. Number 3, every Mexican wants to move to the US. That old belief implies that everybody in Mexico wants to move to the US. And it's way more layered than that. Lots of Mexicans are staying, building careers in startups in Guadalajara, opening family-run restaurants in Oaxaca, and running Airbnb businesses in Merida. They're raising families, buying homes, sending their kids to local universities. And it's not out of necessity because they have to. It's out of pride and choice. I've asked a few Mexicans if they ever dreamt about living in the US. And a few of them do say yes. But a lot of them tell me that they're in the right place already, which is Mexico. To them, it's not about chasing the so-called American dream anymore. It's about living their own version of success right here, surrounded by culture, family, and everything else that feels like home to them. Myth number 4 is people think Mexicans are lazy. This one hits me hard because it could be further from the truth. Mexicans are some of the hardest working people that I've ever met. Statistically, Mexico has one of the longest work weeks in the world. Some small business owners open at dawn, and some street vendors stay open until midnight. And they don't just work hard in Mexico. I have a friend back home in Canada. He runs a painting business, and he says he only hires Mexicans. It's not this cheap labor thing because he pays them what they're deserved in Canada. It's because they show up on time. They hardly take days off. He says like it feels like they want to be there. Unlike Canadian-born people that just complain about being there. So yeah, Mexicans work really hard. So get that out of your head. Number 5 is that everyone speaks English. Now look, in tourist spots, sure, a lot of people do speak English. Or worst case, you get around with hand gestures to point things out. But the moment you step outside of that bubble, into local markets, smaller towns, you've got to learn some Spanish. Basic phrases will help, but don't walk around expecting everyone to speak English, that everyone speaks your language. That's part of the experience. It actually makes things feel more real and human if you learn a little bit of Spanish to get around. And like I said, the simple phrases will help. And trust me, I'm speaking from experience. I've been living here for almost 2 years. And while my understanding is getting a little better every day, I'm starting to understand more, I still can't speak Spanish very well. And honestly, it's embarrassing. My excuse is that I'm a stay-at-home dad and I spend a lot of time with my son raising him. But that's just excuses. And life gets in the way. But as he gets a little bit older, I'm going to still learn more Spanish. And when he's in school, I'm going to start going to school myself. But if you're thinking about moving to Mexico at any point, make the language your priority sooner than later. Because it will make a big difference, trust me. And it really will help you connect with the local people. And the more you do that, the more you'll realize they're beautiful here. The people are beautiful. Number 6, Mexican food is just tacos and burritos. First of all, burritos are not Mexican food. That's an American-made Mexican food. But if that's all you're eating, you're seriously missing out. Mexican food is a whole universe. Different regions, different ingredients, completely different styles all over the place. It's like saying that Italian food is just pizza and spaghetti. You wouldn't just walk into a restaurant in Italy and expect every dish to be a slice of pepperoni pizza, would you? It's the same thing here. Every state in Mexico has its own thing going on. Some places are about slow cooked meats. Others have rich, complex sauces that take days to prepare. You got street food that looks simply, but it hits with layers of flavor that don't even make sense until you taste sweet, spicy, smoky, earthy. It's all there, baby. And honestly, a lot of this stuff doesn't even look like what most people think of Mexican food should look like. It's not always wrapped in tortilla or smothered in cheese. Sometimes it's soup, sometimes it's roasted meat, sometimes it's this ancient recipe passed down through generations that never even left a particular town. Number 7, it's all desert and cactuses here. That's only part of the picture. People hear Mexico and automatically think deserts, cactus, and beaches. But that's just a slice of what this beautiful country has to offer. The country's landscape is vast. It's beautiful. And it varies all over the place. You got tropical beaches with turquoise water, dense green jungles that feel like something out of a movie. And yeah, actual snow. There's snow here in Mexico. Head to a place like Toluca or Chihuahua, it's cold in the wintertime. You can find pine forests, mountain roads, and even some place there's snow and ice. Mexico is like 5 different countries in one when it comes to landscape. Number 8, that the healthcare in Mexico is low quality. Now here's the real story. Private healthcare in Mexico is legit. I'm not just repeating something I read online. We had our son in a private hospital here, and honestly, it felt like checking into a 5-star hotel. Didn't really feel like a hospital. The room was massive and the food was amazing, actually. Which if you ever stayed at a hospital, especially in Canada where I'm from, food being good is very rare. And the service was almost too good. Doctors, nurses, food staff, cleaning crew, people kept constantly checking up on us, making sure everything was okay. There's board certified doctors, modern equipment. It's all here. And the prices, they're a fraction of what you would pay in the US. I'm not saying it's perfect. No place is. But don't believe the worst headlines and assume the whole system is falling apart here. And if you know what hospital to go to, it will be a completely different experience than what you think you'll experience. Number 9, everybody in Mexico is corrupt. You hear stories, of course you do. The headlines love to paint Mexico as some nonstop chaos, murders, cartels, dangerous. All this danger on every corner. But the truth, most people are here just to live regular lives, to be honest. They work, they pay bills, they raise their kids. It's the same as everywhere else for 99% of the population. Me personally, living in Mexico City, I don't get bothered by anybody. The only people that really bother me are the ones that want to say hello to me or practice English. And I have no problem with that. I went to Walmart yesterday and there was a guy that just wanted to talk to me, ask me where I'm from. All people really bother me about, and I don't mind at all. I don't get bothered by cops, no shady characters. I don't see cartel members roaming the streets like on a Netflix series that you start to believe it's true. And really the only person that asks me for money is the person at the red light while I'm in my car juggling fire. Yeah, he juggles fire. It's cool. And he only asked for a couple pesos, and he deserves more than a couple pesos. He's really good. And that's what hits me. People here really want to work for it. No one's standing around waiting for handouts. It's a grind. They're selling candies. They're juggling fire. They're cleaning your windows. It's every day in 100 small, quiet ways you wouldn't notice unless you were living here. Number 10, Mexicans only drink tequila. That's one of those cartoon versions of reality people can't seem to shake. I'm not saying Mexicans don't enjoy tequila. It's definitely a part of the culture. But honestly, beer is more popular. You walk into any corner store and on the shelves aren't lined with tequila bottles. It's lined with beer, all different kinds of beer. And here's what most people don't realize about Mexicans, is that there are a lot of people here that don't drink. Mexico isn't just this non-stop party vibe that everyone thinks it is. Here, there's just regular life with regular people making regular choices. Number 11, everybody wears sombreros and ponchos. For most Mexicans, that's Hollywood nonsense. Depending on where they're from, some Mexicans dress that way, especially if they work on a ranch. But for the most part, People dress like anywhere else in the world. Jeans, sneakers, hoodies. You'll see more Nikes and Adidas here than cowboy hats. Hollywood isn't real life, so you need to get those images out of your head. Myth number 12 is Mexico doesn't really export anything but labor. That's completely false. Mexico's economy is way more dynamic than most people give it credit for. It's one of the world's biggest players in car manufacturing. Brands like GM, Ford, Volkswagen, BMW, they all build vehicles here. We're talking about full-on production plants, engineering teams, global export. And it doesn't just stop at cars. Mexico is also a huge hub for electronics, producing everything from flat screens to smartphones, and even critical components for aerospace. And I can sit here forever, the list goes on. Mexico isn't just supporting other economies, it's competing with in big ways. There's a whole industrial engine running here that most people never see. And you don't see it because it doesn't show up on your vacation brochure or on your social media feed. Number 13, the Mexican police are always corrupt. Now, I'm not gonna lie, some are. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it or anything. Corruption exists everywhere. And yes, you might hear the stories, but let's be real. I've even seen shady cops back home in Toronto, Canada. It's not just a Mexico thing. Every country has its issues. That said, especially in larger cities and tourist zones, things are starting to change and reforms are happening. And it's not like every police interaction is some sort of shady shakedown. In my neighborhood where I live in Mexico City, there's a constant police presence because it's a nicer neighborhood. So there's a lot of police here, but they're not harassing and hassling anybody. They actually wave to me and say hello. That's as much as I really get from them, actually. And I've traveled all over this country, from small towns to big cities, and I still haven't had the pleasure of paying off a cop. Not once. So let's stop acting like every badge comes with a bribe. Most of the time it doesn't. They're just normal people doing their job, like anywhere else. So get over it. Number 14, Mexicans don't care about education. This is such a lazy, outdated stereotype. The reality is that there's a massive push towards education here. School, university, professional careers is a huge part of their culture. Families take it serious. It's non-negotiable serious. I've met parents who actually sacrifice their own comfort just to make sure their kids get through university. And get this, there's free public universities here for Mexican citizens. And these aren't some rundown schools with outdated textbooks. We're talking about top-tier institutions with rigorous academics, world-class research, and alumni working in high-level fields all over the globe. It's not rare to meet someone here with 2 or 3 degrees. So no, education isn't optional in Mexico. For a majority of people, it's a priority. And honestly, in some ways, it's respected more here than in a lot of so-called developed countries. Number 15, Mexico is behind on technology. You'd be surprised. A lot of people picture Mexico somehow being behind when it comes to tech, but that's way off. Cities like Guadalajara and Mexico City are turning into serious innovation hubs. We're talking about fiber optic internet, speeds that put parts of the US and Canada to shame. It's smart city infrastructure is happening in real time. Public transit tracking, digital payment systems everywhere, and tech startups. They're booming here. You've got entrepreneurs here building companies that are scaling across Latin America and beyond. So no, it's not backwards here. In fact, if you know where to look, some areas feel like they're way ahead of the rest of the world. Number 16, everyone listens to mariachi all the time. Sure, mariachi here is iconic. It's cultural, it shows up birthdays, weddings, and even funerals. But if you think that that's all Mexico is listening to, you've got no idea how deep the music scene really is. You hear reggaeton blasting from car stereos in the city, underground rap echoing through the bars, indie rock bands playing rooftop gigs, and full EDM festivals drawing thousands of people. Mexico's sound is as layered as its culture is. There's some places that have regional music that never leave the state. And then there's homegrown pop groups that grow huge and become international. Number 17, that it's always hot in Mexico. That's not true at all. I live in Mexico City, and because of the altitude, the weather feels like a warm spring day almost every day. Some days warmer, some days colder, but on average it's around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's not hot and humid like it is near the beach. You can walk around in a t-shirt during the day here, and at night you might be wearing a light sweater. And if you go to places that are higher in the mountains, it actually gets cold and you need a real winter jacket there. Like it's always summer. But that's not true at all. Some parts are hot and sunny, yeah, but other places are cool, breezy, and even cold. Number 18, everybody's the same culturally. Mexico's got So many layers. It's wild. You can drive a few hours in any direction and feel like you entered a completely different country. Different food, different slang, different music, and even different ways people celebrate the same holiday. One area might be about spicy stews and loud street parades, while another is quiet, slow paced, and centered around handmade crafts and century-old traditions. There are indigenous cultures here with their own language. And some of these languages don't even come close to Spanish. The way people dress, the ingredients they cook with, the values they hold, it all shifts depending on where you are. It's not a one-size-fits-all culture. It's layered, textured, and insanely rich. So when people say Mexican culture, they're really talking about dozens of cultures all living under one flag. Myth number 19 is that you can bribe your way out of anything. That used to be more common maybe 10, 20 years ago. Slipping someone a little cash to skip the line or get out of a ticket was almost expected. But now, especially in bigger cities, it's not automatic anymore. People are more aware. Systems are improving and there's more accountability. Believe it or not, old school corruption is being pushed out by new generations, the ones that don't want to play the game anymore. And honestly, I had way more experience with people just doing their jobs by the book than any shady business. And to tell you the truth, maybe sometimes it was too by the book. But those stories are for another video. Number 20, Day of the Dead is just Mexican Halloween. That one always gets me. But honestly, I believed it before I came here too. It's not about candies and costumes here. It's about honoring family, actually. Remembering loved ones. Altars, candies, marigold flowers. It's actually really spiritual, not just a party. Number 21. Mexico is all ghetto. The idea that Mexico is all ghetto is straight up ignorant. It's one of those lazy assumptions people make when they've never even left their own backyard. Or worse, they only seen one bad clip and decided that represented the whole country. Yeah, of course there are rough areas, just like other places in the world. I mean, the US has a lot of rough areas. I've seen them with my own eyes. But there's also neighborhoods here that are super clean, safe, and better maintained than a lot of places I've seen back in the US or Canada. Just take a look at some of the wealthiest areas in downtown Mexico. There's a reason they call Polanco the Beverly Hills of Mexico. And that's just not hype. We're talking about luxury boutiques, high-end restaurants, spotless streets, designer everything. And honestly, even back in Canada, I rarely saw places this upscale and high class as some of the spots I've seen downtown Mexico City. It's the kind of wealth and elegance most people don't associate Mexico with at all. It will completely flip the script on everything you thought you knew about Mexico. The architecture, the shopping, the services are next level. And Mexico is full of contrast. You go to small villages and massive cities, old colonial towns and sleek modern developments. In the reality, some of the nicest places I've ever seen are in Mexico. And I've traveled the world. So painting this whole country with the word ghetto, that's just plain wrong. It says more about your ignorance than it does about Mexico, actually. Number 22, Mexico is tiny and only has beaches. The idea that Mexico is tiny with a bunch of beaches only is wildly wrong. Mexico is huge. It's the 13th largest country in the world by land area, and it's packed with way more than just coastline. Sure, the beaches are famous, and yeah, they're stunning, but that's just a slice of what's here. You got massive mountain ranges like behind me, high altitude cities like we're in right now in Mexico City, sprawling deserts, lush jungles, farmland, forests. It's one of the most geographical diverse countries out there. You can go from surfing in the warm ocean to hiking in a pine-covered mountain all in the same day. And it's not a small tucked away country either. Just the border it shares with the US is 2,000 miles long from tip to tip. And it's home to 130 million people. So no, Mexico isn't some tiny strip of land with margaritas. It's a full-on powerhouse of landscapes, cultures, and real life happening on every level. So I actually have a myth number 23, and this is another video. I made this video a little while ago. It's that it's safer in Mexico than it is in the US statistically for US citizens. Go check it out. I think you'll like that video if you like this one. So go check it out. I'll see you there.